Before we begin, turn off the lights, and whatever you do, don't look behind you. Welcome to the Nightmare Narratives, where every story opens a door you were never meant to see. Settle in, because the nightmare starts now.
It was sometime in December. Back then, I was studying at an old college in the Midwest, Riverside Community College, located in a quiet town called Oakridge, Illinois. Right beside the college stood a rundown hostel building. Officially, it was called the New Dormitory, but in reality, the place was so old and abandoned-looking that fear crept in the very first day I saw it. Moss covered the walls, bats hung like dark shadows from the ceiling corners, and the corridors smelled of decaying wood. An eerie silence always lingered in the air. At first, I wasn't alone in the dorm. Mark and Ethan were my roommates, but before December even began, Mark had to return home due to a family emergency, and Ethan moved out after finding a tutoring job in the city. That left me alone, completely alone, in the very last room on the floor. The first few days passed quite peacefully. At night, I would sit by the window and watch the faint glow of a distant church light beyond the empty cornfields. Sometimes I listened to music. Sometimes I worked on my notes. I even started to think there was a strange calm in living alone. But on the night of December 1st, that feeling changed abruptly. Around 9:30 p.m., while studying, I felt something move beneath my desk, as if something lightly bumped it. I assumed it was a rat, but when I looked down, there was nothing there. The space was completely empty. I brushed it off as my imagination. Time passed as I watched videos on my phone. When I looked up again, I felt as if someone was standing in one corner of the room, a vague shadow-like figure, unclear. The moment I rubbed my eyes, it vanished. I convinced myself it was just a trick of light and shadow, but what happened next was no illusion. At exactly 10 p.m., as I stepped down from my bed, I saw the figure of a girl walk in from the doorway toward the window. Her movement was perfectly human, but her body seemed to tremble like smoke, neither solid nor fully transparent. I couldn't see her face. I had never seen her before. When she reached the window, she slowly faded away. I froze like stone. My throat went dry. I couldn't blink. Even breathing felt difficult, as if something heavy was pressing down on my chest. I don't know when I finally fell asleep, overwhelmed by fear and exhaustion. At around 2 a.m., I woke up to the sound of knocking at the door. My body turned cold. I desperately needed to use the restroom. Still, as I opened the door, it felt like an invisible wave of icy fog wrapped around me. The corridor was terrifyingly silent. No wind, no sound, nothing except a faint glow from the distant church. When I reached the prayer room, I saw the door half open. Inside was complete darkness. Suddenly, a cold, breath-like gust of air flowed out. It felt as if someone was standing right behind the door. Gathering what little courage I had, I leaned in slightly and saw a tall shadow standing inside, completely still, not moving at all. Yet I could feel it was facing me. I couldn't stand there for even a second. I ran straight to the restroom. On my way back, I witnessed something even stranger. Near the dorm gate stood a large mahogany tree, usually motionless. That night, one thick branch was swaying violently, as if someone were pulling it with force. There was no wind. The night was utterly still. That kind of movement was impossible. Back in my room, I sat on the bed, clutching my pillow to my chest, waiting desperately for dawn. The next evening, to clear my head, I went to the nearby elementary school field with my friend Ryan, but we couldn't stay there for more than 5 minutes. It felt as though someone was staring at us with an icy, razor-sharp gaze, yet nothing was visible. The field was empty, but the sensation was so real that we both became uneasy and hurried back to the dorm. That night, before eating fast food, I went to the sink to wash my hands, and that's when the most horrifying thing happened. As soon as I turned the faucet, a reddish, sticky substance flowed out with the water. At first, I thought it was rust, but when I rubbed it between my fingers, I realized it was completely red. The water itself had changed color. There was a faint metallic smell, like iron. I had no cuts on my hands, yet the water looked exactly like blood. Even after washing 2 or 3 times, the same red liquid kept coming out. I stepped away from the sink immediately and returned to my room. Fear had spread throughout my entire body. Unable to stay alone, I called Alex from the next room to stay with me. Not long after he arrived, the dorm's black cat appeared at our door. Normally, no one paid much attention to it, but that night, its behavior was completely different. The cat began to growl viciously, sometimes baring its teeth and staring at the ceiling, sometimes pacing back and forth near the door. It felt like the cat was seeing something we couldn't. The cat continued this behavior for nearly 2 hours. Then, suddenly, it stopped and silently disappeared. Neither of us managed to sleep properly that night. The next morning, I didn't wait any longer. I went to the college office, took a 5-day leave, and went back home. Even at home, I kept waking up at night. A constant unease lingered, as if someone was standing silently in my room. After 5 days, I returned to the dorm. Strangely, everything was normal again. No unusual sounds, no sightings, no invisible presence, as if everything had suddenly stopped. Yet even now, sometimes when I close my eyes at night, I feel that shadowy figure standing in the darkness, the mahogany branch swaying, and that pale girl walking toward the window, again and again. That December night in Oakridge still lingers somewhere deep inside me.